If you're a founder, you're juggling a million things at once. And the absolute last thing you need is some dense, confusing security report that doesn't actually tell you what you need to know. So in this explainer, we're going to cut right through all that noise. We're going to show you how to build a super simple, actionable security scorecard that helps you make better decisions, builds trust, and, actually reduces your risk. I mean, this quote just nails it, right? Security reporting can feel exactly like a fog machine. It's all this drama, it's expensive, and at the end of the day, it just makes it harder to see what's really going on. And look, this fog machine isn't just annoying, it's actually dangerous. When your security reports are nothing more than a long list of activities, you're essentially flying blind. You end up making decisions based on this illusion of security, not the reality. And that can have some pretty serious consequences for your business. Really, it all boils down to this one question. This is the only one that truly matters. Are we safer this month than last month? In ways that actually move the needle on our revenue, our uptime, and the trust our customers place in us. If your dashboard can't answer that, plain and simple, it's just not doing its job. So this is the big shift we have to make at our thinking. We need to move away from these noisy reports that just celebrate activity, the ones that get ignored in meetings. And we need to move towards a founder-grade scorecard that is so clear and so actionable that it actually forces decisions and drives the entire agenda. So how do we build one of these scorecards that actually forces decisions? Well, the key is to adopt a whole new philosophy about metrics. A metric isn't just a number you look at. No, it's a trigger for a specific action. If a metric doesn't tell you exactly what to do, it's just a vanity metric. And this is the perfect way to test it. It's a simple litmus test. For any metric you're tracking, you have to be able to finish the sentence. If this worsens by 20%, we will, and then state a specific action. If you can't finish that sentence, you should probably just stop tracking that metric altogether. Okay, so what should we be tracking then? Well, the solution is a really practical 8-metric scorecard. It's designed to be narrow enough for leadership to actually focus on, but it's broad enough to cover the reality of your exposure, your speed, and your resilience. And here it is, the whole framework. We've got metrics covering your immediate exposure, your identity hygiene, your incident speed, that's how fast you can detect and contain a threat, and your ability to recover, human risk, third-party risk, and finally, your security backlog health. Now, we're not going to go through all 8, but let's zoom in on a couple to really see these principles in action. Let's kick things off with a classic example, patching. Now, you might think you've got a great handle on it, but honestly, the way most companies measure patching is deeply flawed. And that's because averages lie. They hide the real pain. See, your P50, which is basically your median patching time, might look fantastic. Let's say it's 14 days. Great. But the real story, the one that matters, is hiding in your P90. That's the slowest 10% of your patches. That is where your risk is. A huge gap between your P50 and your P90 is a massive red flag that something is broken in your process, your ownership, or your tooling. Okay, now let's talk about a concept that's often overlooked but is so important: security debt. The best way to think about it is like financial debt. Every single time you cut a security corner to ship a feature faster, you're taking on a little bit of debt. And just like financial debt, it accrues interest over time in the form of more risk and eventually huge cleanup costs. The trick is to just track the ratio. So in the last sprint, let's say your team accepted 12 new pieces of security debt. Maybe they deferred some hardening tasks to hit a deadline. But in that exact same sprint, they only retired or fixed 5 pieces of old debt. This simple ratio, it tells you everything you need to know about where you're headed. Because a rising debt ratio is a leading indicator of future trouble. It's that simple. If you are consistently creating more debt than you are paying down, you are systematically increasing the probability of a future incident. And this isn't just some tech problem, it's a business problem that's going to slow you down later and really worry investors during due diligence. Now look, having the right metrics is half the battle, but you also have to avoid the common traps that can make even the best scorecards totally useless. Let me tell you a quick story from the source material that just perfectly illustrates this. So a founder shared a dashboard that looked incredible. I mean, it was almost all green, 97% green. On the surface, everything looked perfect. They were basically ready to pop the champagne. But then we asked one of those simple, kind of annoying questions. That's great, but what's really going on inside that tiny little red slice? And that's when the truth came out. That beautiful green dashboard was hiding the fact that their few critical findings were ancient, over 45 days old, and they were all stuck because of unclear dependencies. And get this, while a practice drill said their incident response was strong, the real-world data showed it slowed to a crawl on weekends. The green dashboard was lying. And this is the punchline. The problem wasn't their tech, it was their process. They needed crystal clear ownership and a ruthless commitment to only track metrics that could actually trigger a decision. It's such a powerful lesson. These are the traps that founders fell into, and trust me, they are incredibly common. Let's just break them down real quick. Number 1, reporting activity, not outcomes. Don't tell me how many scans you ran, tell me if we're actually safer. 2, using one blended security score for everything. It's totally meaningless. 3, showing snapshots instead of trends. A single data point is useless. You need to see the trend over time. 4, no owner and no SLA. If nobody owns a metric, nobody is accountable. Simple as that. And finally, number 5, optimizing for optics. A pretty dashboard that lies to you is worse than no dashboard at all. So, how do you avoid all this and actually put this into practice? Well, the great thing about this whole framework is that you can start right now, today. Here's how you can get started this week. First, build your one-page scorecard using those 8 metrics as a starting point. Second, for every single metric, assign one owner and one clear service level agreement, or SLA. And third, schedule the review. Put a recurring 30-minute meeting on the calendar with leadership just to review the scorecard and talk about the trends. Because ultimately, this is the goal: a boring, predictable, honest dashboard that your team can run week in and week out without any drama. Remember, operational honesty will always beat a pretty but misleading chart. And that leaves us with this final question to really think about. Is your security program just a performance with a fog machine and a lot of dramatic lighting? Or are you building a managed, predictable operating system for security? The answer to that question will define your company's resilience.